If you clicked on this video, I'm sure you're thinking, how could I possibly be making weird but genius Dollar Tree crafts? Well, you all just need to keep watching, and I'm going to take you through 3 different crafts that we put together that we thought were a little strange to start with, but turned out to be super, super fun and cute, and we hope that you all enjoy them as much as we did. My name's Alicia. I'm a craft producer here with Makers Gonna Learn. If you all are interested in Dollar Tree crafts, make sure to click that subscribe button and the little bell so you're notified every time we post. We make Dollar Tree crafts here on the Makers Gonna Learn channel all the time, and we would love for you all to be a part of our community. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So for this project, we're gonna be using almost exclusively Dollar Tree items. If you all have not been in the floral section at the Dollar Tree lately, they have really stepped up their game. Like, I'm just gonna show you guys this greenery that I grabbed. This is like a viney greenery, but Dollar Tree, you just don't normally find stuff like that. And so I thought, let me grab a bunch of these pretty florals. I got some whites, pinks, and blues. You can get whatever colors you want. And then I'm just gonna be basically putting together this entire centerpiece using exclusively Dollar Tree items. And so I got lots of different greeneries. You're just gonna match it to your occasion. I did get some floral foam from the Dollar Tree as well. You can get this at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, wherever. And actually this one may have came from not the Dollar Tree, but I know for a fact you can get this there. It's usually gonna be $1.25. And then I got a wood base. So this is just like a little wood blank, probably for like a sign or something. Or you can use something like this live edge piece. Now this is in the $3 to $5 section, but would still be very, very cute for a project like this. I've got a cylinder vase. We're gonna be putting a table number on here with our Cricut. And then I obviously have this big hula hoop. I've already spray painted this gold. You can spray paint it whatever color you like. I would recommend going with a basic color like white, black, like white or gold or something pretty and simple. We just want to have like that good foundation laid. And then I just have some scissors and some wire cutters. These are pretty heavy duty. Floral wire cutters will be just fine for this project. And then I have our SureBonder wireless hot glue gun. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I was saying before, you can use either of these bases. This one is probably going to be a lot more hidden. This one, the edges may kind of poke out, so this would give you more of a rustic look. I think we're going to try this one for now. I just think it would be fun to see kind of how it turns out with this live edge. And I'm just going to remove all of the plastic. And so you want to make sure that whatever floral foam you're using is going to fit on the wood piece. So we don't really want it to go over the edges very much. We just want it to kind of sit nicely on top of it. So you can see it's not going to go over the edges, which is really nice. We're just going to go ahead and hot glue our floral foam to our wood piece. And then I'm not a floral professional or anything by any means, but my usual tactic for when I'm doing floral arrangements is to start with my greenery. So I like to start with a good base. So I'm gonna start with some of these vines. I've even got these really pretty ferns, some boxwood greenery, and then you can start with just like some basic filler flowers, things like that. You can even use stuff like moss for these. So if there's like any empty holes, you can add in some moss. And then I'm just going to cut off these individual stems. It's better to cut them a little bit longer to begin with, and then you can shorten them if you need to as we go. And so you can just put a dot of hot glue on the end of these right before you put them into the floral foam, and we're just gonna start plugging these in all over, and we're gonna try to cover most of this with greenery, and then if we have any empty holes we can go in, and that's where we're gonna add our pretty florals. Okay. Another thing you want to consider is what you're going to be putting on these. Like if you're going to be doing a table number with a mirror maybe, or if you're wanting to put some candle votives or anything like that, you're going to want to go ahead and put this on here, or at least draw like an outline around this using a Sharpie. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this onto my floral foam, and I can build my greenery around that. So we've got a good base of greenery on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in some of my bigger flowers. And then if we need to fill in with more greenery as we go, we can definitely go back in and do that. So I went ahead and removed the staple just using some pliers. I removed the staple from the hula hoop, and now I'm going to insert them into the sides of our floral foam. And this is gonna hopefully give us enough support so that the hula hoop stays in place. So I just took scissors and kind of carved a hole out in the foam, and I'm just going to hold this here until it's completely dry. Now you can put the hula hoop in first before you add the florals. My theory was that I wasn't sure exactly which would be the front of my floral centerpiece and which would be the back, and so I thought I'll just wait. But in hindsight, I probably would go back, do the hoop first, and then add the florals around it, just because it's a lot easier to see the hole and put the hula hoop inside of the floral foam. And so I'm just going to hold these here until they are completely dry, and then I'll stand the hula hoop back up. Okay, so once you have it exactly how you want it, I'm going to add in some of this moss. This is also from the Dollar Tree. Just to the bottom here. I would recommend using a flameless candle if you are going to put a candle in here, just because this moss will catch on fire, as well as the florals. So you just want to be very mindful. So I'm just going to take some of these viney greeneries, and I'm going to secure them with some little zip ties. And don't worry, we will cover these up with some more greenery so that you can't actually see any of them. Okay, so we have all of our florals on here. I wanted to kind of go through and just check and make sure there's no green area showing or anything like that. But the last thing that we want to do is add our table number to our glass vase. So you're just going to want to make sure to measure the area that you're putting the table number on. You could always do this double-sided too if you're going to have people on both sides of the tables. That's just something to think about. And we're just going to use some Maker's Gonna Learn fonts in Design Space. And I have some like foiled gold vinyl that's really pretty. I think would look nice on here. So we're going to go ahead and cut that in Cricut, and we will be done. So once you're in Design Space, so I'm going to pull in a basic shape as a guideline for the size of the area I'm going to be applying the vinyl. And I'm just going to put a 3.5-inch square. That's about the size on the area for the vase. I'll zoom in a little bit for you all. And so you can choose whatever font you want. A lot of times people, when they are doing weddings, they use the same font for like their invitations and their decor and things like that. So I like to use a pretty scripty font that is still legible. And Gypsy is one of my go-tos for this. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. And now you could just put the numbers on the table if you wanted to. It's going to be totally up to you. Okay, and then once you get it exactly how you want, I'm going to select both the two and the table. I'm going to attach them so they cut exactly where they're at. And then you can just hide the square because we do not need that. Go to Make It. Make sure your mat is set to a 12 by 12 mat. Continue. So for this specific type of vinyl, it is a textured metallic vinyl. So I'm going to browse all materials and you can type in textured metallic. And here is our cut settings for this one. So you're just going to adjust it depending on whatever type of vinyl. You could just be using standard premium vinyl or glitter vinyl, whatever you want to use. And then hit done. And then we're going to load this onto our mat. Okay, and then I'm just going to remove the excess. And then you can just apply a piece of transfer tape. Okay, and then I'm just going to remove the backing and go ahead and apply this to our piece. Now this is something that you could totally have done before you put this on here, but really either way is going to be fine. So I'm just going to apply this right to our piece. And just like that, you are done. So out of all of the crafts that we're going to be doing today, this one is probably the most genius craft. I feel like all of these supplies combined look very strange and you're probably thinking, what are we making? But we're going to be making a cute little wagon out of a brownie pan, 4 magnetic tins, and a spatula. I know it sounds crazy, but just trust me on this one. It turns out super, super cute. The first thing you're gonna need is to grab some spray paint. Now you don't have to use red spray paint, but we're just kind of sticking with that classic wagon look. And then I'm gonna be using some black chalk paint for the wheels. And then I have a hot glue gun here. Now those are just the basic supplies you're gonna need, so it's really not a lot. But I'm gonna go ahead and start by adding 2 or 3 coats of red spray paint to my brownie pan in a well-ventilated area. And then once that dries, we can go ahead on with the rest of the project. Okay, so it's been a couple days. We painted our wagon. This is our little baking sheet that we had. It literally looks just like a wagon. It's so cute. So I do still need to paint my wheels and attach those. So I'm just going to use like a black paint. You can use whatever you've got on hand. Don't stress about like the type of paint. Just any type of acrylic paint will be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and get my hot glue gun on. I did collect some Dollar Tree florals, so you can use whatever you want. I was feeling like the red would go good with some white and blue and a little bit of greenery. All of this is from the Dollar Tree, so you can still use Dollar Tree products for the florals. But let's go ahead and paint our wheels, and then we will attach all of the rest of the pieces. If for some reason you gather all of these craft products and you can't find these at your dollar store, just look for something round and small that's gonna look proportionally correct with your wagon. So like we didn't want these to be super big because it would look crazy. But actually these work out pretty perfect. So I'm just going to take some black paint, and these are magnetic on the back too, which is really cool. But the lids come off, so I'm going to actually glue these on, and then I'm going to paint them. So I'm just going to add a small little dot of hot glue and then go ahead and reapply my lid. We're going to repeat the process for the other ones. Okay, those should stay pretty good. And then I'm just going to measure this little inner circle. And then we're going to cut out 4 circles from some adhesive vinyl and in white. And so I need just 4 2-inch circles in white. And I'm going to cover those after I paint them with a white circle of adhesive vinyl. Perfect. Then for the middles, I'm just going to use the tail end of my paintbrush, and I'm going to put a little dot in the middle of all of these wheels, and then we're going to set these to the side to dry. So the next thing we're going to want to do is add our florals while our wheels are drying. And all I'm going to do is glue some floral foam to the middle of this wagon. Now this is not Dollar Tree floral foam. This is just some I had sitting around. But feel free to use whatever you have on hand. And then we're just going to start cutting these florals up and then putting a little bit of glue on the ends of them and sticking them into our piece. And I always like to start with my greenery, so that's where we're going to start first. So we've got the flowers done, and now we just need to add our spatula and our wheels. So I'm just going to remove the tag from this, and we're going to be gluing the spatula down, but we want to make sure it dries really well before we move it. So just kind of pick your placement, and then we will glue it, let it sit for a minute, and then we will add the wheels. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue onto my spatula, and then I'm going to sit my wagon directly on top. And so I'm going to let that sit until it completely dries. That way it does not move at all. Okay, so these have magnets on the back of them, and you can see that they will stick, but I feel like we should probably put a little bit of glue just to like reinforce them, because I don't know how well they're gonna stick, and they're probably not gonna stay. Like if you store it, they're not gonna stay. Now when I sit it like this, it's totally fine, but you can see if I move it, they come off. So I'm going to add just a dab of glue on the back sides of these. That way they're magnetized and they're going to be glued on there as well. So I'm going to kind of put it up towards the top where it's actually going to be touching the wagon, and then just attach them to the sides. And just like that, you are done with your Dollar Tree wagon project. This turned out so cute, you all. So for the next craft, we are going to be making a DIY shelf using almost entirely Dollar Tree products. If you all did not already know, they do sell these small wooden pieces at the Dollar Tree. Now you'll typically see in the store like the framed wooden signs. These are more just wooden pieces that you can use to build stuff. We purchased these online. Dollar Tree does have an online store, so you can purchase these. And sometimes you'll have to purchase them in bulk too, but sometimes it'll let you buy individually. So you're gonna need two to make one shelf. And then you're also gonna need these metal wreath door hangers. Now I've already cut this one because I was making sure that it would actually cut all the way through using these wire cutters. So you're going to need two of those. You're going to need some really heavy duty wire cutters. These vice grip ones are like super heavy duty. So they allow us to cut pretty much all the way through our wreath hangers. And then I've got some black paint. You can use chalk paint. You can use whatever paint that you've got on hand. I just like the finish of chalk paint. I've got some early American Minwax stain, some gloves for staining, a paintbrush. I've got some 220 grit sandpaper to make sure that we can sand out all of those rough edges on our wood. So let's go ahead and get into it. So before we do anything, we're gonna need to sand down all of our edges really well. So I'm just taking this 220 grit sandpaper and I'm gonna go along all of these edges and make sure there's none sticking up. We just want this to have a nice clean finish. Another thing that you want to pay attention to, especially when you're working with stain, is if there are any stickers, firstly, make sure to remove them, but then make sure to sand really well where the stickers are, because the stain will not stick to any adhesive that's left over from the sticker. So you want to make sure and sand that down really well. So I'm just gonna take a paper towel. I've got my gloves on. I'm gonna dip it in to whatever stain color you choose. And then we're going to coat both of these pieces of wood. So these have cured for at least 48 hours. Honestly, y'all, you can let them cure for about 24 hours and the HTV is going to adhere to them. Just make sure that you are completely wiping off any excess stain, because it will not stick if there's any stain left on these. So my plan from here on out is to go ahead. We're going to cut a mandala shape onto these out of this peach Easy Weed. This is just the Caesar brand Easy Weed vinyl. So what I'm gonna need to do is measure my shelf. Let me give you guys a little bit of a visual, that way you're not completely lost. So this is the back of the shelf and this is the actual shelf. And so I'm wanting to put the mandala right here. That way it's like this is the top of the shelf, but you could totally do it like on the underneath side. But you'd want to be aware that we're going to be putting brackets there, so we don't want to do anything super detailed. So I'm going to do it on the top portion, that way you can really get the effect of the mandala. And then I'm going to show you all how to break these apart and attach those, and then we'll finish the entire project. So I'm going to start by just measuring the width of this. So this is 11 inches wide. So we want to make sure our mandala is no bigger than 11 inches wide. And so you can see here we have the entire mandala. We only need half of this, but I'm gonna go ahead and size the width to what we need it to be. So no bigger than 11. I'm gonna say 10 exactly should be perfectly fine. And then I'm just gonna slice off the bottom half of this because we really don't need the whole thing. I just need exactly half of it. So I'm just gonna line it up about there, select both, and hit slice. Then we can delete this whole bottom layer. So we really just need this. Now you could do a more intricate mandala if you wanted to. I didn't want to do anything super intricate just because the smaller it is, the more details it is. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time weeding on these easy little Dollar Tree projects. But I think that this is going to look really, really cute on here. So we're going to go to Make It. And it is a symmetrical design, so we don't need to mirror it. But we are going to be using HTV. So if you are doing words, make sure to mirror your image over here on the left panel. And then I'm going to select continue. And we're going to go ahead and put our HTV face down on our mat. So I've got the carrier sheet face down on the mat. The carrier sheet is also known as the transfer tape. And then we're going to load this into our Cricut. And then back in Design Space, I'm going to hit Everyday Iron On, keep it at default pressure, and then we'll go ahead once the Cricut's ready and hit go. While our HTV is cutting, I went ahead and turned our mini easy press onto the medium heat setting. That's typically what I'll use when I'm doing HTV on wood. You don't want it to be too hot. A lot of times the adhesive on the HTV kind of doesn't like to work with the wood for some reason, and so we don't want it to get super hot, but we still want it to adhere, and it really does not take a lot of heat. You could honestly do like a low to medium heat and you'll be safe there, but do not use the highest heat setting or you're not going to get good results. And then another thing we can do while it's cutting is go ahead and break apart these metal wreath hangers. So I already did one, so you can see here we're just going to be left with this portion of the hanger. And you can use the really massive wire cutters that we talked about earlier, or you can honestly just bend this backwards a couple times and it's going to snap right off. Just be super careful. And so you can see here, we've got these two little brackets. Now, you are welcome to paint these another color if you wanted to, like black or whatever color is going to coordinate with your design. But I'm going to leave them gold because I think that they're cute like this. And we will use these as our little brackets to attach our shelf together. Okay, so we have our design weeded, and I am just going to go ahead and remove the excess vinyl that we don't need. And so here is the final weeded project. Okay, and then we're just gonna pick whichever piece you want to be your top piece. I'm gonna go with this one. And I am going to go ahead and add this here, just lining it up with the edge of the wood. You wanna make sure you've got it equal distances on both sides. And then we are just going to apply heat. Make sure that you're holding on to the transfer tape. That way the sheet does not move, because it will try to move and it may mess up your design. And then we're just going to do a warm peel. Now, if something comes up, just make sure you go back and iron on top of it. Okay, so I've got my two pieces here. I've been kind of playing around with the placement of the shelf. And so we were thinking maybe put it like this, but this part's gonna go against the wall. So we're gonna plug in some finished product photos so you guys are gonna be able to really get the good picture. But what I'm gonna do first is I am going to glue these brackets to the bottom of that bottom piece. So I'm just going to glue them like so. I'm just going to kind of place them. And then I'm going to put some hot glue. And listen, this shelf is not for like heavy items. It's just to be cute. Maybe at your desk, you can put like very small plants on them, things like that. But you're definitely not gonna wanna put a whole ton of weight. We're gonna hang it using command strips. So we're not gonna be putting hardly any weight on this. And then I'm just going to apply some pressure there to make sure that it completely stays. If you wanted to get super handy, you could probably go in with like a brad nailer and add in some little nails there. But this is more of a display project, so we're not going to do anything super crazy. But other than that, you're just going to attach command hooks to the back, and then you are good to go. And you can hang this and use it in your home office or in your home. And I think it turned out really cute. I hope you all had as much fun making these as we did. These were some of the craziest but funnest Dollar Tree projects that we have had a chance to make. Make sure to leave a comment and let us know what crazy Dollar Tree projects you all have gone into lately. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you never miss any of our upcoming Dollar Tree Cricut crafts. We will see you all in the next one. Bye!